But 1 year into my career, at the tender age of 22, after a string of very traumatizing incidents, working in tech got so bad that I almost quit. But instead, I shaved my head, and I read Malcolm X's autobiography and all the other books I could find about racism, sexism, and other systems of oppression. And I became a teacher and an advocate for underrepresented peoples in tech. I built tech education programs for people of color, people without college degrees, immigrants, women, and I started telling this story and advocating for diversity and inclusion at tech conferences, and most people liked my message. Then in 2016, I read the book The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, in which I learned about how Black and brown populations are disproportionately and unfairly criminalized and murdered in the US, and how the system of mass incarceration is truly the latest iteration of slavery. I wanted to learn from people who had experience with the criminal justice system, so I started teaching people who had been to prison how to code. And that's how the Code Cooperative was born. Now, over 2 years later, we've become a community of people who learn, use, and build technology to create life-changing possibilities for individuals and communities impacted by incarceration. We work for the liberation of all beings. We imagine and commit to building a world where our collective humanity is reflected in technology, society, and policy. And we do this not just for the liberation of those who have been to prison, but for our own liberation and sense of justice. Because no one is free until we are all free. And last year, I finally got the courage to call out the men who have sexually harassed me at a conference. Actually, I did it at multiple conferences, and the talk made its way around Twitter. It felt like a beautiful moment of justice. And I felt like I was living my best life. I got everything I'd worked so hard for. I went from hello world freshman year of college to almost quitting the tech industry out of fear for my sanity and safety, to making a place within it for myself where I was thriving and unafraid. I proved to the world that I was excellent. I was fighting for the change I wanted to see in the tech world, and I was doing work I really believed in with people I cared about. There were a lot of labels I would use to describe myself at this point: founder, director of technology, international public speaker, social justice warrior, badass, workaholic, party girl, coding icon. Just kidding, I would never call myself an icon. Someone else did, bless their heart. So it looked like I was doing really great on the surface, but something was catching up with me, stuff that you don't show on Instagram. Chronic trauma from repeated sexual discrimination and harassment, burnout, divorce, rage quitting job after job, losing work visas and a green card, self-medicating through the fear and the pain with alcohol and other substances, and depression and suicidal thoughts. In my fight to be excellent, to be accepted, and advocate for others like me and ultimately get revenge, I had lost a lot. All these years of trying to be the best, to be bold, to be perfect, had come at the cost of something I couldn't afford to pay anymore: my wholeness and freedom. And I couldn't keep doing it. So I did what people do after they get divorced. I took a sabbatical. Actually, this is a more accurate reference. I decided to take a break from everything and try to heal. I started removing all of my distractions and coping mechanisms. I quit working, social media, dating, and I got sober. I stopped numbing myself and screening the world. And I was forced to sit with myself and with my feelings and to reckon with the truth that I was not okay, that I had been harming myself for a very long time, and I hadn't been able to stop until I hit rock bottom. But I was on a new quest now, a quest to become whole and free. I learned to stop engaging in addictive, harmful behaviors one day at a time. Under those behaviors were some deep wounds that were created when I was just a child, wounds I didn't even know I had until then. When I was very young, I learned that I was only worthy of love if I was perfect. And I realized that so much of what I was doing was in the pursuit of validation. I wanted the world to tell me I was worthy because I didn't believe it myself. And because this was the story I had told myself my whole life, it would take some serious work to unlearn it. So I learned to meditate so that I would be able to change my thoughts. I started going to meetings with other people who were going through the same journey, and I shared with them my challenges, my fears, my shame, and listened to them share theirs. And after a while of doing this every day, and saying things out loud that I didn't believe, and crying more tears that I thought it was possible to hold in one body, things started to move within me. I truly hacked my brain.